Do you ever find yourself yearning to look beyond the obvious and dreaming about what's possible in your next chapter? Welcome to the Next Chapter Experience. I'm your host, Jeanette Blissett, former corporate executive who turned the page to become a best-selling author, entrepreneur, designer, and lifestyle business consultant. Episodes feature me and a kaleidoscope of guests who share their journeys with wit, candor, and humor, breathing life into real talks about things that matter most. I believe we all have a fire burning within us, waiting to be unleashed and shared with the world. It may just be a matter of time. So let's get together, turn the page, and get this adventure started. Today's guest is Caroline Holke. And after 30 years of drinking, Caroline decided she had had enough of the hangovers and waking up in the middle of the night. She didn't want to give up drinking altogether. She simply just wanted to give up the shitty parts of it. The work was so challenging and so life-changing that she decided to leave her 20-plus year marketing career and dedicate the rest of her life to helping women. Today, she's a certified life coach through the Life Coach School, and she is on a mission to empower women to regain their control over alcohol and create a life that they love. Here's an excerpt from the conversation I had with Caroline. Hope you enjoy it. Caroline, who would you say is your ideal client?
She's smart, successful. She looks at this as, I figured out all these really complicated things. Why can't I figure this one out? And I know my problem isn't big enough to go to AA or rehab. So this is just something that I have to deal with. It's like the stone in my shoe. I'm just going to deal with it. And what I want to offer is that there are options. There absolutely are. So for those who are listening right now, and you feel like you're in between a rock and a hard place, please contact me, reach out. We can have a free session. And just last week, I worked with somebody, and just in that 45 minutes, she was able to make a perspective shift. That was all she needed.
And of course, the ideal client, if they're coming to you, they have a certain mindset of wanting to address this problem or address what's happening in their life. That would be your ideal client. But outside of having or wanting to reach out for help, what additional things are necessary? You mentioned doing the work. What do you think the self-talk or the monkey brain chatter is going on with that person?
Yeah, I think typically the self-talk is not positive. I think that's across the board, whether you're drinking or not. I think that's a chronic issue that we have. So the negative self-talk for sure, lots of monkey mind, you just named it right there. And starting to utilize the tools to quiet that monkey mind. So whether that be meditation or yoga, or I've utilized EFT before, tapping, if you've ever tried that.
I wondered about that because I've actually tried it in a seminar format. I'm not sure I got anything out of it.
I'm not trained in it. So this is the Caroline Holke version of it that I'll just explain. But what I think is interesting about it is that they kind of meld the acupuncture points with mindset, cognitive behavioral theory. So as you're tapping on these certain spots, you're saying certain things. And so the combination of the two, I think, is interesting. I've tried it a couple of times before and I've seen some results, but who knows?
I guess if you believe it's working or it's doing something for you, it is.
Yeah. And I have an interruption technique that I use with my clients. So now I'm working on sugar, I will say. So I don't use it on drinking anymore, but I'm using it on sugar. And so there's something about just that, hey, wake up. I'm having a craving right now. That's okay. And that helps me pause.
I've been on this thought process of eating a carb-controlled eating plan. Not completely cutting all sugar out, but cane sugar. Finding a substitute that you can tolerate, because not everyone can tolerate stevia or monk fruit. But being aware of how much sugar you're consuming as it relates to your metabolism and how it impacts your metabolism and also your ability to burn fat. And I've been having some chats with some friends about the impact of having sugar in your system so that you can create a fat burning environment in your body. A lot of people are trying to lose body fat. But so the sugar thing. So tell me again, okay, sugar. Okay, tap, tap, tap.
Well, I mean, I think it does kind of wake you up. So in standing in front of the pantry, I'm having a craving right now, and I'm going to sit with this craving and I'm going to see what is it trying to tell me? What do I really need right now? You know, sometimes that's enough right there. That gives me the pause between the stimuli and the reaction, right?
Yeah.
Or the response. So.
Interesting, because I'm reading Martha Beck's book, The Way to Integrity. And she had a situation where she had eggs Benedict. And she's like, why did I eat that? Why did I eat that? I know I'm allergic to eggs. So she has this technique called walking back the cat, kind of rewinding to figure out what point did you not pay attention to a signal in your body that you needed to take a pause, and you overrode that and kept on pushing through, where you ended up eating what you knew you were not supposed to eat. So she calls that walking back the cat, and kind of reminded me of that.
Okay, when you remember to do it, right?
Exactly. So now when I walk back the cat and I realize that I did not do the tapping when I had that urge, I know that that's what I need to be doing. But I think you may have mentioned meditation.
I've created a craving hack meditation, which I'd love to offer to your listeners, which is really great when you are having that urge, similar to the interruption technique. I've got this urge right now. I said I was going to have 2 drinks. I've had my 2 drinks. I don't want to have the third one. This is just something to listen to just kind of help you in that moment. So it's something you can download, keep on your phone. I think it's really helpful to think about every time we are faced with a decision like that, we can either reinforce that neural pathway or start a new one. Let's make this one stronger. You're always at a fork in a road. And for me, that made every bit of difference, because every single time count, right? I'm either reinforcing it or I'm unwinding it. Which one do I want to do right here? It's so easy in the moment when you're like, oh, forget it. I'm just going to start again tomorrow. But if I start again tomorrow, if I go ahead and have those drinks, I'm just a little bit deeper in the hole. So if I think about every single one of them, again, this has to be up in the conscious mind. You can't just let the subconscious go to town here. When you are thinking about it consciously, do I want to reinforce this neural pathway, or do I want to strengthen this new one over here? That's just kind of like, it just needs a little more work. We need to clear the path a little bit, but I can reinforce that one.
That's an interesting concept in terms of choices, in terms of making a choice, a conscious decision, making it often enough where it becomes a permanent decision.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect, but practice can also make permanence.
Yeah.
That's a good technique. In your new chapter, from a health standpoint, and how you feel about yourself now that you have all of these ways of managing yourself for the greater good, has there been an impact on your family life as it relates to the choices that you've made?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I am showing up more present when we're hectic and we're stressed out and like running from one thing to the next. Not that I'm not running from one thing to the next, but I just have more presence of mind. And it's not, I don't know, things just don't bother me as much as they did before, I would say. I've learned the tools of how to manage my mind better. So I take care of my mental hygiene just the same way I do brushing my teeth. So that is something that I am diligent about every morning.
That's amazing. So there's this term, another one, self-care.
Yeah.
So as it relates to that, how do you actually interpret that?
Yeah, for me personally, what that means, my ideal day would be I have time for my journaling in the morning. I have time for a little yoga, some meditation, maybe some time to read. That's all self-care for me. I love to walk. If I can get outside in nature and have even just walking around the neighborhood, that's great for me. Having some downtime, just knowing myself. Sometimes it's exciting to have things back to back and kind of go, 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 go. But I just know for me, I am an introvert. And so I need to recharge my batteries. And so I make sure that within my schedule that I have those times planned so I can recharge, so that I can show up for everybody, including myself, as my best self.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It seems women in general, especially when they have families, and whether or not they're single parents, which is even more challenging to deal with, or actually having the traditional family, it seems that there's a lot of running around. There's a lot of just going from place to place. Kids are involved in sports, drama, and all kinds of activities, and they put themselves last.
Yeah.
So it's not that easy for a lot of women to actually find that moment in time.
But I wonder, is it that impossible?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's going to depend on each person, but at the end of the day, it's where their priorities lie. They typically are putting themselves last. And I think that in some respects, our society very much encourages that, right? And so we have these standards that we are supposed to live up to with this superhuman mom, which are just ridiculous. If you think about, remember that Angele commercial with I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in the pan. I think that that whole mentality is just crazy. And then we add on, you got to do it all perfect. And then you've got Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook and all that compare and despair that's going on. So yeah, no wonder you want to drink because you're like, you need a reprieve. But how about just having the pause to look at that situation and say, that's all kind of nuts to begin with. To pull out of the rat race for a minute, just to look at it and say, wow, maybe that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I wonder about that. I wonder about that a lot because I have friends who have children at home who did the homeschooling, and it was more than a notion. These are career women as well. So I understand the need for what you do. And I'm privileged to have this conversation with you because I'm sure it wasn't easy to put yourself out there.
Yeah, thank you. I think a lot about my clients. I think about the women that are out there that don't know who to turn to, that are suffering with this in silence. And that's really what keeps me going. I used to work in corporate America. I worked global marketing and it was fun. Traveled all over the world and met some fascinating people and worked on these big projects and stuff like that. But the impact of my work was so difficult to see because so many other people were involved with it. And now I have the honor, the privilege of being able to witness somebody's transformation right in front of my eyes. And that is just the most amazing thing. I literally tell myself, I think it's crazy amazing that this is what I get to do for a job. And I get to share these tools that change people's lives, honestly.
I actually am pretty happy that you've offered to share some of these tools. So we will put everything that you're going to share in the show notes. So anyone who's listening who may think that it applies to them, or they may know someone who could benefit from the information, I'm glad that you have the resources to share such a very relevant topic. And being a woman and realizing that women in general have a lot on their plates, whether they are in relationships or married with or without children, there is still a lot on their plates. And I believe that the time is now to start to address these issues so that we can live the life we envision for ourselves in terms of having a sustainable longevity in a healthy way, especially as we mature.
Yes, absolutely.
As we mature and the children leave the house and it's just you and your bottle or you and whatever. You have to figure it out.
I mean, one of the things that I've been talking about recently is this idea that if you're getting all of your dopamine from wine, then there's really no motivation to go out and create a life from which you're getting your dopamine. Right?
No, it's true. In fact, this is comical to me because I belong to a group of women and we do aqua fitness together. And I was describing this to my girlfriend, Jackie, and I said, going to aqua fitness is like having dessert. She said, what? I said, it feels so good. It just makes me so happy. And all of the women in my group feel the same way. So you have to find other ways to get that good feeling. Zumba does that for me as well.
And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter if you and I like it. It's like whatever the listener enjoys doing. A really good kind of trick is ask yourself, what do you do that you forget to check your phone? What is it that you're doing that you get so absorbed in that you don't even pick up your phone? I think that that's kind of a good barometer. Or who would you be having dinner with where you wouldn't even consider it? You're so super excited to talk with this person. You don't want to be distracted from it. I call myself a drink less coach, and that's part of the equation. But really the beautiful part is creating this life that you don't want to numb out of.
Yeah, to your point, it all counts.
Yeah.
It all counts. I think that this topic is very relevant. I sometimes ask myself the question, why do you exist? And why should anyone care? And making it count is really important. You know, it really is. What you do is important work. So again, I certainly do appreciate you allowing me to have this conversation with you and having the ability to share it with others who I know are going to benefit greatly from it. I hope this is not our last conversation.
I hope not either. This has been a delight. I've really enjoyed talking with you. And I do have some free resources on my website. And I want to make sure that I extend the offer that I do offer a free session to anybody. And please take me up on it. I mean, I got into this work because I love this work. So this is not an inconvenience. There's no hard sales call or anything like that. None of that stuff. Literally last week, I met with somebody and she had a perspective shift that changed everything for her. And that's available to everybody.
This is amazing. Your next chapter, which is what you're doing right now, as I described it earlier, is so important and so relevant. I certainly do appreciate you making time for me in the next chapter experience.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Next Chapter Experience. If you have already subscribed, rated and left a review, or shared this podcast with a friend, many, many thanks. For questions, comments, or feedback, reach out to me at Jeanette Blissett at nextchapterexperience.com. We'll be back with more conversations, so until then, keep that fire burning.